In her book, The ISIS Papers, The Keys to the Colors, psychiatrist Dr. Frances Cress Welsing states, the concurrent urban crises of drug use, drug addiction, drug-related murder, teenage pregnancy, infant mortality, black academic underachievement, black teenage unemployment, black adult male unemployment, black male incarceration, single-parent, female-headed, households, chronic welfare dependency, poverty, AIDS, and homelessness are very disturbing individual and group-destructive pathological forms of behavior that are the direct and indirect byproducts of a behavioral power system fundamentally structured for white genetic survival, locally and globally. The chain of events begins with the denial of full-scale employment and advancement to black males so that they cannot adequately support themselves, their wives, and their children. In turn, large numbers of black male children grow up without father's guidance. This leads to frustration, depression, and failure in school. Once this atmosphere is established, drugs are placed deliberately in the black community. The drugs are then used to street-treat black male frustration and depression. The high prices for which drugs are sold provide the black male population with the illusion that finally they are beginning to make some money and to share in the American dream. Guns are then placed at the disposal of the same black male persons, supposedly to aid them in enforcing payment for drug sales. More important, the strategy is for black males to kill and destroy one another and then carry the blame. It must be realized that no black males manufacture the chemicals for drug use, nor do any black males manufacture guns.
But for many, the wounds are always open. Perhaps most important, its influence radiating to every part of life is the breakdown of the Negro family structure. For this, most of all, white America must accept responsibility. It flows from centuries of oppression and persecution of the Negro man. It flows from the long years of degradation and discrimination which have attacked his dignity and assaulted his ability to produce for his family. This, too, is not pleasant to look upon. But it must be faced by those whose serious intent is to improve the life of all Americans. Only a minority, less than half, of all Negro children reach the age of 18, having lived all their lives with both of their parents. At this moment tonight, little less than 2/3 are at home with both of their parents. Probably a majority of all Negro children receive federally aided public assistance sometime during their childhood. The family is the cornerstone of our society. More than any other force, it shapes the attitude, the hopes, the ambitions, and the values of the child. And when the family collapses, it is the children that are usually damaged. When it happens on a massive scale, the entire community itself is crippled. So unless we work to strengthen the family, to create conditions under which most parents will stay together, all the rest, schools and playgrounds and public assistance and private concern, will never be enough to cut completely the circle of despair and deprivation.
George White, the man who helped the agency in so many of its programs. He would retire here to Stinson Beach, California. And shortly before his death, He wrote to his boss at the CIA, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, and summed up his career by saying, "It was fun, fun, fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, and cheat, steal, deceive, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest?"
In the CIA, we didn't give a hoot about democracy. I mean, it was fine if a government was elected and would cooperate with us, but if it didn't, then democracy didn't mean a thing to us. And I don't think it means a thing today. The true goal of the United States government is control.
The CIA does not care about human life. It doesn't care about peace at all. It cares about winning and perpetuating and expanding itself, and that's not an exaggeration. They have an entire procedure they've developed over the last 40 years since Gary Webb. They destroyed his career, lost his marriage, his finances, and then wound up in a hotel room with 2 bullets in his head because he reported on CIA drug running, and he wrote the book Dark Alliance. Their most favorite form of assassination is pushing someone to suicide, and then that gives them the doctrine of plausible deniability. And that comes from National Security Council Directive 10-2 in 1948, where the CIA can do anything it wants: sabotage, subversion, economic warfare, assassination. It can do anything it wants as long as there's plausible denial for the U.S. government. They can deny any involvement. The CIA can do anything it wants. Now imagine that. With their $39 billion plus budget and the power of secrecy they have, the things that they have done and are doing are unconscionable.
Clorinda relies on welfare to support Shaquana, but it's her mother, Gloria Henderson, who gets the check for the whole family. Gloria, 34, has never been married. She was a teenager when Clorinda was born, just as her own mother, Clorinda's grandmother, had been when Gloria was born.
When you were pregnant, did you assume that you could turn to welfare for help after the baby came?
Well, yeah, but I didn't have her just to collect welfare. I had her because I felt that it would have been a part of me. I would have had somebody to live for and also somebody to love and love me back.
Is your daughter the first person you've ever loved?
I really, really love my daughter.
2 months after the birth of their baby, Clorinda was pregnant again by Darren. This time she had an abortion. She didn't think she could handle 2 little children while still a teenager herself.
Your grandmother was a single woman with a child. Your mother, a single woman with a child. Now you. Why is that happening?
I really didn't plan on getting pregnant, but if I really had somebody to really sit down and talk to, like really express my feelings to them, I don't think none of this would have happened. And then when it did happen, my grandmother's like, I told you this, I told you this, tell me nothing.
Nobody told Darren anything either. He too lives at home with his mother. Where's your father?
Locked up.
Locked up where?
Green Street.
What for?
Fighting and shit. Fighting. Violence. Stuff like that.
Had anybody ever told you what it is like to be a father?
I like watching other older, you know, that had
kids.
kids.
What did you learn from it? How did you?
I learned that they take a lot of patience. Take a lot of patience.
You have a lot of patience?
I don't got a lot of patience.
Clorinda doesn't always have a lot of patience either.
You want to fight?
No.
Then don't ask me if I want to fight if you don't want to fight. Don't say to me.
You got my question.
Come in now.
Talk to you. You like going out like that.
No, you went out. You shouldn't have said nothing to me. You done already pissed me off.
What I do?
2 months after her abortion, Clorinda and Darren broke off their relationship. They see each other rarely now. Once in a while, Clorinda will take Shaquana to visit. Do you ever think about marrying Clorinda? Why not?
I ain't thinking about that. Nah, that's the last thing on my mind.
You ever feel depressed?
I don't be like sad. I just be like frustrated. I be like really like frustrated.
What are the odds that your daughter will follow the same route because there was your grandmother?
No.
White supremacists are trying to turn black males into women, e.g., unemploy or underemploy him, while bombarding him with messages saying, men are supposed to be economic providers. It's important for black men to understand that manhood extends beyond one's genitals and economic provision. While they are important, it also includes the provision of guidance, physical/emotional protection of others, furnishing ideas, affection, limit setting, and play. White supremacists are also trying to turn black males into adult infants, e.g., pedestalizing black male rappers with infantile names, showcase them engaging in reckless behavior, and displaying them with their pants sagging so it looks like they need their diaper changed. Also, because many black males are being raised by overwhelmed single mothers who sometimes release their frustration via harsh physical punishment, e.g. whoopings. Some black men go on to maltreat or distrust black women in the future due to maternal attachment injuries. Additionally, white supremacists are trying to turn black females into men, e.g., strong black woman trope, overwhelm her with work, train her to be combative via entertainment, convince her that the black man is of little value, so she can compensate for his absence by taking on his role and proudly serve as both mother and father. It's important that she understands that she has the right to be soft, affectionate, and compassionate, and to not fall for the strong black woman trope as a badge of honor. The white supremacists are also trying to turn black women into adult infants by having employers and colleagues relate to her as if she is incompetent. Also, by rendering her absent of a present father, she will be distrustful of black men, while simultaneously yearning for his love and affection, thus causing her to have an ambivalent posture towards black men due to her paternal attachment injuries. Black males have historical wounds around being respected due to the indignities of slavery, Jim Crow, etc. So respect is paramount. Black females have historical wounds around being heard due to the indignities of slavery, Jim Crow, etc. So making her feel heard is crucial. Because no self-respecting woman wants to be married to a baby, and no self-respecting heterosexual man wants to be married to another man, many black relationships dissolve, and the black collective is divided and conquered as the white supremacists hoped. The healing process requires a thorough understanding of white supremacy, and the black collective must see the system of racism, white supremacy, as their enemy and not one another.
Well, I don't want to say you didn't. No, you didn't fail us.
Okay,
you didn't fail us. The white supremacy system is just beating all of us.
Now, black men will say that too about black women. That black women have let them down.
Right. Well, you see what I'm saying? It's just like the Julia syndrome. You know, Diane Carroll and the Julia. Black women have been programmed via TV and everything else. You don't need a black man. You just need a white man to give you a job. At the same time, they're saying to the black man, you don't want a sapphire. She's too argumentative. She talks too much. You see what I'm saying? What you need is a white woman. Now, what does this produce? This produces maintenance of white supremacy. Why? Because you have divided and conquered the black man from the black woman. But just like you divide and conquer non-white people.
I have to make this point. If
you hate your daddy, you hate your uncle because he wasn't there. Y'all didn't have no dad in the house. Y'all don't know what no man is because boys done raise boys. How you gonna know what a man is? And from 83 to now, boys been raising boys. They don't know what no man is, and half of them wind up being feminine. Because they're in the house with mama, but they not feminine. They just happen to be in the house with mama. Ain't no man been there, so how they know how to be a man? Right today, I'm 77 years old and finna leave planet Earth, and I can't tell you what no man is.
Look at male violence and men's attitudes about women and say it's all patriarchy. And I'm not dismissing patriarchy. I'm not dismissing structural racism. But if you really want to understand how some men relate to women in terms of their attitudes and behaviors, you have to go back to their earliest childhood experiences with their mothers. And when we look at the data, particularly in Black communities on child abuse, the data tells us that the majority of the abuse and the fatalities are perpetuated by women. And so if you want to figure out why a man is a misogynist, you've got to go back to those early childhood experiences. And people don't want to have that conversation because then we have to talk about maternal violence and women's complicity in creating the very men who hate us.
So, yeah, you are making the point that when mom beats her son,
that leads to him growing up to beat his wife or girlfriend.
Yes. She sets the template. That is his first, intimate relationship with a female.
Yeah.
And so you see it all the time, these women
And
who
he loves her. The young child loves her in a romantic way.
Well, I don't know if it's romantic. I don't know much
of her as like a girlfriend almost. He has that sort of.
I've never been a boy, so so I don't know. Okay. But it's that first relationship with a female, and he's setting the tone. And what happens is he's not going to make his mother pay for all that pent up aggression and rage. He projects it, elsewhere. Think about our rap artists. I think about Tupac. Although you were, a dope fiend, mama, you always were a black queen. You grabbed me and put a whoop into my backside, right? And this is the celebration of a black mother can be a crackhead, beat the crap out of you, and still be a god and worshipped. But then, they redirect all of that pent up rage and aggression toward other women in our communities.
With us, also, it's, as in my story, it's more than just the actual violence. There's also the threat.
Mm-hmm.
I will whoop you, right? Like somebody who's beaten you, they might do it again. So now if I can, I am acting on the potential of that threat. So that, and when we are comfortable saying, I brought you in this world and I can take you out. Obviously spare the rod, spoil the child.
Which isn't even in the Bible.
Right.
It's not even in the Bible.
Wow.
That sentence is not there.
That's amazing that we've heard so many times the Bible says, and it's actually not there.
No.
So many people have heard, I'll whoop you till the white meat and other sorts.
Bernie Mac.
Right? So, just the talk.
Internalized racism.
The culture of threatening children with violence is part of this whole thing.
Yeah. Tyler Perry, in all of his movies, Medea is always beating a kid, beats a foster kid on screen, is always threatening them, talking down to them. There's always that threat of violence. So black children are always between a rock and a hard place. So you're in a world where, I think a few years ago, we heard adults debating whether unarmed children deserve to die, whether it was Trayvon Martin, whether it was Tamir Wright.
Once I was 7 years old, my mama told me, go make yourself some friends or you'll be lonely. Once I was 7 years old. It was a big, big world, but we thought we were bigger, pushing each other to the limits. We were learning quicker. By 11, smoking herb and drinking burning liquor. Never rich, so we were out to make that steady figure. Once I was 11 years old, my daddy told me, go get yourself a wife or you'll be lonely. Once I was 11 years old. Always had that dream like my daddy before me. So I started writing songs, I started writing stories. Something about that glory just always seemed to bore me, cause only those I really love will ever really know me. Once I was 20 years old, my story got told before the morning sun when life was lonely. Once I was 20 years old. Only see my goals, I don't believe in failure, cause I know the smallest voices, they can make it major. I got my boys.
But when I said I was gonna take a train and go to Philadelphia, and I said I wasn't gonna leave today, I am leaving today. I'm sorry, and I wanna spend the night. That's the bad news. You wanna know the good news? Well, the good news is you're coming with me. And the reason I'm going to Philadelphia is because me and you are going to do a date, and we're gonna stay in the hotel, and we're gonna go to a play museum, and the hotel has a swimming pool, and we're gonna take the train to Philadelphia in 2 hours. So I need you to grab your clothes and get ready, because me and you gonna have 2 days, just me and you, traveling and having a great time. Would you like to go with me?
I would love to. It's straight.
Yep, car 6. Getting the verb. Drinking. What do you say, babe? Cheers.